The wild psychic adventures of Mob return in the much-anticipated second season of Mob Psycho 100. You know what anime series was a pleasant surprise? Sailor Moon Crystal. I mean, honestly, I didn't expect that there could actually be a good Sailor Moon show, but there it is. You know another really good show that surprised me? That was Mob Psycho 100. Yes, a show that I went into completely blind, and it ended up blowing me away. What I really loved about the show is that I went in not really knowing what it was going to be about, aside from the fact that this was from the creator of One Punch Man. And while it carries a lot of very similar character design, the actual style and storytelling is completely different and just as endearing as One Punch Man, maybe even more so. And I think the case was perfectly made for that in the very first episode of the second season of Mob Psycho 100. If you guys don't know what this entire series is about, here is a quick summary. Basically, it's all about this young kid who goes by the name of Mob, who has awakened these superpower psychic abilities, and he's learning how to actually control them. Eventually, if he loses control of his emotions, he becomes a superpowered death being of extreme power and can pretty much just destroy anything. He battles against an evil organization of psychics, and he does his best to get through every single school day, trying to make friends, trying to have love, and of course trying to impress everyone in the Body Improvement Club. Basically, it's a coming-of-age story with superpowered psychic abilities. And the story continues in the second season, which is basically a straight reintroduction to the overall concept of the series. The main characters, where they exist, what they do on a daily basis, while also managing to expand on the characters themselves. What's most interesting about the main character of Mob is that he's an extremely introverted student who really has a lot of problems when it comes to confidence. He doesn't really know if he should show off his psychic abilities or if he should hide them. He's one of those characters that's been blessed with a super awesome, what is effectively a superpower, and he kind of denies it. He just simply wants to be a normal high school student, and he doesn't want to have to live with the burden of having these crazy powers, which always involve him getting involved in crazy shenanigans, going up against creepy cultist organizations, and even battling against supernatural monsters. All of this is just an absolute drag for Mob, and something about that has always been really funny for the show. But this episode right here wastes no time in getting back into who these characters are and what they do. In fact, it actually opens up with Mob and his employer Reagan, who again, might be one of the best characters of all time. He's really great in the first season, and he continues to shine here, basically being one of the greatest bullshit artists that I've ever seen, utilizing Mob's power in order to make money, or at least whatever he can get from his customers. And the first scene of the episode is them going to this farm, which is being attacked by this evil spirit, which is sort of like sucking everything dry, and it basically results in just a giant, ridiculous, super-looking action scene that is just done with so much gusto. I love the look of this monster, which takes the form of all of these like twisted and intertwined roots, kind of looking like a giant monstrous version of a scarecrow. And Mob is just able to effortlessly just take this thing out with no trouble whatsoever. It's all connected to the fact that he is a super-powered psychic, and getting to watch him come up against all of these situations and come out of it clean is always very thrilling and super stylistic. They don't end up making any money, but at least they're going to be able to grow some delicious vegetables in their brand new garden. The rest of the episode brings us back to Mob and his school life, which initially at first I thought was going to be one of the worst things about the entire series, but damn near every character is just so funny that I just cannot wait to see more of it. And the main plot of this episode is in his school. It looks like they're having the big election for student council. It looks like someone has to be president, and Mob, it looks like he's going to be sort of like the Napoleon Dynamite-esque version of that character in this episode, having to give a big speech and completely choking while he does it. Watching him just choke in front of this crowd is absolutely heartbreaking, but believe it or not, it actually ends up gaining the attention of one of his fellow students who goes by the name of Emmy. Emmy, believe it or not, professes her love to Mob, and they actually start a relationship. This is a really great moment for Mob, as it's exactly what he's been looking for. Just a normal high school life, having a girlfriend, going on fun excursions. That's all he really wants. Until he unfortunately learns the truth that this girl is basically doing this all on a dare. hair. Her friends basically put her up to this and dared her to actually end up going on a date and starting a relationship with Mob just to be assholes. Because remember, this is an anime series, and there's bound to be some really douchebag bullies. The scene itself is just an absolute gut punch, as you're so happy for Mob, finally getting exactly what he's been wanting, only for it all to be taken away and revealed to him that it's been nothing more than a cruel joke by these super manipulative and evil Japanese schoolgirls. However, it does lead to a really great scene which absolutely tugged at my heartstrings and might be one of the greatest moments from the entire franchise thus far. There's a really nice scene where Mob and Emmy are hanging out by the river and he learns that she's actually kind of a budding writer and she loves to read, but it's something that she's very embarrassed about, especially in front of her friends, as they're basically going to accuse her of being a geek. But of course, Mob, being the very sensitive one that he is, realizes that it is something she's passionate about and something that she shouldn't have to hide. When she goes back to her friends and reveals that she's done with this whole joke with Mob, they actually learn, of course, that she is a writer herself, and they immediately start to give her hell for it. They even grab her book that she's been working on for a long time and straight up just rip it into multiple pieces. Guess what? This pisses Mob right the fuck off. Thankfully, he doesn't get all Tetsuo from Akira and just, like, paints the freaking walls with these girls' blood. He actually decides to just sort of freak them out a little bit. He then uses his psychic powers, revealing it to someone, actually, for one of the few times in the series, actually getting all of these ripped up pieces of paper and putting them back together for Emmy. It is such a freaking heartwarming moment to show that even after being rejected and ultimately humiliated by this girl, Mob still goes out of his way to help her and do something good. It says a lot for his character and why he has the potential to be one of the greatest anime heroes of all time. Still, even with the heartwarming moments and fighting against giant supernatural monsters, the show still manages to have a great sense of humor, and I think the comedic timing of Mob Psycho 100 is pretty much pitch perfect in its first episode and gives me a lot of hope to see what the second season is going to deliver. And with that in mind, what's the rundown on the very first episode of the second season of Mob Psycho 100? From the intro to the ending, this was a really damn good first episode. Let's talk about that intro for a second, because I think the intro from the first season of Mob Psycho 100 is just so damn memorable and one of the greatest of all time. Not only for having a very catchy song, which is perfectly timed with the imagery, but the imagery itself is just so incredibly insane. Some of it really making no sense and just being a hodgepodge of just the most ridiculous aspects of Japanese culture. This intro, while it does carry a lot of that spirit, is different in that it is a little more traditional. They're hinting to a much bigger story in this intro, knowing that we're probably going to be going up against the Evil Claw organization yet again. They were teased in the end of the very first season, and we got to see Mob battling against them, but we're probably going to see a lot more of them in this season. And the intro is showing us that Mob is not going to be in this alone, and he's going to be joining up with all of his fellow friends and creating some sort of super-powered psychic team. I can't wait to see where it's all going to be going, and I really hope they manage to have a good mixture of those big grand stories as well as the small ones right here, as I really think this episode was just incredibly engrossing and totally brought me back to why the show is so incredible in the first place. And it's just got one of the best art styles I've ever seen. Some of the characters look kind of deadpan and maybe even lazily designed, but I really think it adds a lot to this show. You know, the creator of One Punch Man is definitely known for doing those sort of like deadpan expressions, and a lot of the times they are played for laughs, but sometimes they can sort of amplify the emotion and the action, and in this episode right here just absolutely bled all of that. What more can I say? What a great first episode of this season. It's got me so excited to see what the rest of the show is going to be all about. I'm giving this episode right here a 5 out of 5, even with the return of Dimple, who might be one of the most annoyingly stupid side characters ever, but even he manages to be funny. Mob Psycho 100 is back. I highly recommend it. If you haven't checked out the first season, what is wrong with you? Go watch it right now and then start this second season. It is freaking great. So there it is. That's my review of this episode right here. If any of you guys did watch it, tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below. Let's get a discussion going about the excitement of the second season of Mob Psycho 100, and make sure to check out those reviews and a lot more on my channel. Thank you guys for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down, baby.